And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the halftime show, The Main Break, brought to you by Crowcast. Pretty solid first half from Adelaide after a pretty decent first quarter from the Crows. A little bit of an insipid opening by St Kilda, but they certainly tightened it up after the first change. The halftime scores: Adelaide Crows 8 goals 9.57 to St Kilda 2 goals 4.16. The main goal scorers for Adelaide, we had Tommy Lynch with a couple, we had Eddie kicking 1 goal 1, we had Wayne Miller and Andy Otten also on the board, as with Josh Jenkins, Brody Smith and Rory Sloane. So even spread of goal kickers over the first half. And as I said, certainly the opening quarter was particularly pleasing, both in terms of intensity and in terms of contested balls. So let's crack right into some stats as I just open up my page here. We certainly outpossessed St Kilda 225 to 201. We're going at about a 1-to-1 kick to handball ratio. We're certainly trying to move the ball by hand through the middle of the ground. Our marks 49 to 40. Tackling has been excellent, 37 to 31. In particular, our forward 50 tackles. I don't have a number on that, but I'd imagine it'll be fairly high. Our Charlie Cameron, Eddie Betts, to a lesser degree, Richie Douglas and others have been very good at keeping the ball in our forward 50. Sources winning the hitouts 24 to 17. We're getting a bit of a ride from the umpires, in my opinion. If I was a Saints supporter, I'd be a little bit dark at some of the umpiring that's been going on to halftime. Sorry, but I guess you take it when you get it, don't you? 15 to 7 freeze. We have converted at 47.1%, so our disposals per goal is 28.12, a little bit high, 13.24 per scoring shot, but our inside 50 count, 35 to 17, probably indicates that we could be a little bit further in front. We've been a little bit wasteful up forward. We haven't hit that final target every time, and that's certainly something that the Crows could clean up in the second half, just getting that efficiency into forward 50. PJ Crows, welcome on the chat, mate, and you're absolutely right. We're playing field position football, territory football, particularly in that first quarter. We got stung a couple of times out the back by St Kilda, but that's because we just had the ball locked in, and we had our defensive line pushed right up to the middle of the ground, and they just couldn't carry the ball out of our forward 50 when they had the ball. Some individual stats, and Richie Douglas. Had my doubts about Richie at half-back, but he's had a couple of runs through the middle, and 19 touches to half-time, 9 kicks, 10 handballs. He's had the 4 tackles as well. It's been an excellent first half from Richie Douglas, and really pleasing to see him find a little bit of fall. Welcome to Vardy Magic on the chat. Don't forget, guys listening, you can listen to us on the app or on the webpage, and you can also chat to us either on the webpage, or if you're listening to us on the app, just click the chat bubble and you'll get into the chat interface. You'll be able to chat with us from wherever you're listening. Rory Atkins as well, 15 touches, 10 kicks, 5 handballs, the 4 marks, the 2 tackles, 5 inside 50s as well from Rory. The thing that I liked seeing from Rory Atkins was the attack on the ball in the first 5 minutes on, I think it was our half-back line, straight line the contest, which has been one of the knocks on Rory over the last few weeks. But he straight lined the contest and really put his body on the line early, and that's all we ask from Rory Atkins. We know he's an outside player. We know he's not the tough in and under type, but all we ask for is a contest from Rory Atkins, and he gave us one of those in the first half, and that's good to see, and he continued it to a degree in the second quarter. I felt that our intensity dropped a little bit in the second quarter. They started to get back on even terms with us in contested possession, and it showed as well with the time in possession evening up in the second quarter. Rory Atkins as well, though, 4 contested possessions. I forgot to mention Richie Douglas had 6 contested possessions and 3 clearances as well. Look, it's been a good opening as well from Tommy Lynch, he's been working hard up and down the ground. He's had the 13 disposals, 9 and 4. He's had the 4 marks along with a couple of goals and 4 contested possessions. In fact, I just want to touch on contested possessions for a moment, because I made sure that I took note of contested possessions at quarter time. And it might be the first time for a long time that the Adelaide Football Club, apart from one player, Riley Knight, who didn't spend a huge amount of time on ground, every other player on our list got at least 1 contested possession. In the first quarter, we had Rory Laird with 4, Jenkins, Jacobs, Greenwood, Sloane with 3, and then a bunch on 2, Atkins, Beach, Betts. I won't go through them all. Everyone had at least 1 contested possession apart from Nida, and we know that Nida doesn't shirk it in that situation anyway. So it was really a statement of intent from Adelaide in that first half, and particularly in that first quarter. Our contested possession counts to half time, and I will focus on this. Hugh Greenwood, again with 10 contested possessions. He's just an absolute beast in terms of contested ball. His work inside the contest, his ability to work free and to dispose in tight positions, and as Vardy Magic points out on the chat, Greenwood's hands, they are exciting. He's very, very deft with the ball. He doesn't give up on the contest easy, and 10 contested ball possessions to half time. Even though he's only going at 50% disposal efficiency, he's feeding out the ball. He's had the 4 clearances as well to go with his 10 posies. And I thought he adds another dimension to our midfield. And for a third gamer, it's exciting to see what he can bring. It seems like they're playing him a little bit more time on ground this week, and a lot more through the middle. And he's really showing us what he can do. Very good. Who else have we got here with Rory Laird across the back half has been good, 7 and 10, 3 marks, 2 tackles. I think the mainstay across halfback though has been the lad that I wouldn't sell one of my children, but I'd probably lease them out for a while. And if any of my kids are listening, nothing personal, guys, but we really, really, really need to get Jakey Lever's signature sooner rather than later. I believe that it's imminent, but Jake Lever with the 10 kicks, 4 handballs, the 4 marks, all intercept marks. He's had the 1 inside 50, he's had 2 contested possessions and 12 uncontested, but he's going at 93% disposal efficiency as well. He reads the play so well. He's fearless, he's clean. And he's a revelation on that back half. The other bloke that I think has been freed up, and it'll be interesting to see if Alan Richardson actually mans up a bit on this guy. But Brodie Smith has been good in the first half. 10 kicks, 2 handballs, which is the ratio you want from Brodie. He's a long kick and gets us metres gained and gets us territory. For 12 touches, 5 marks, 5 inside 50s, and that's where, when Brodie Smith is getting held, that's the loss that we see. It's those inside 50 deliveries that we miss out on when Brodie Smith is down. And we notice that he only had the 12 or 13 touches last week. He's up to that count already this week. He's had 4 contested possessions and also kicked a goal. So Brodie's up and about as well. No real downers. Rory Sloane has obviously been tagged once again, and they're doing it effectively. Not only is Kobe Stevens doing a good job, but he's had more of the ball as well than Rory. Rory's only had the 2 kicks and 3 handballs for 5 touches. He's kicked the goal, obviously, but only the 1 tackle as well. And often when you see Rory getting tagged, he's racking up the defensive stats, but not so much. Only the 3 contested possessions and the 2 clearances. It almost looks as if at times we're using Sloaney as a bit of a distraction around the contest. It looks like Richie Douglas is the main beneficiary of that, particularly in the second quarter. Saw Richie getting freed up quite a bit around the contest, and I just wonder whether Rory's playing a bit of a sacrificial role this week. He's certainly dragging 1 and at times 2 players, and certainly towards the end of the second quarter, we saw Sloane taking a bit of a break in the back half. So a few little bits and pieces that had changed up. I did feel that once the urgency of the first quarter, that box was ticked, I did feel that we dropped off a little bit in the second quarter. I felt like our intensity around the ball and at the ball carrier through the middle of the ground dropped away a little bit. I felt like our forward pressure was still extremely good and kept us within a comfortable margin through that second quarter. But the Saints certainly they manned up harder at St Kilda. They got their structure right. They were just dropping too far back in the first quarter, and they couldn't make any headway out of our forward 50. I felt like they went a bit more man-on-man and allowed themselves a few more outlets in their transition. And it looked like at times we dropped back into that not willing to chase mindset. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out in the second half. I feel like Adelaide need to return to their first quarter intensity to really stamp their authority on this game. St Kilda aren't a bad team. They lack a bit of firepower and they lack a bit of weapons, but they certainly work hard. And if we try to just keep them at arm's length and coast along, as American Crow points out in the chat, then you never know. With a bit of hard work, they might just inch their way forward. A bit concerned about Damp Squid on the chat. Complaining that the nipples are itchy. Now, I'm not actually sure whether Damp Squid is male or female, and that really has an impact on my response to that statement, Squibby. So if you could perhaps send me a DM on Twitter or something just to confirm or deny your gender, then perhaps we can take it up after that. Oh, dear me, it's gone pear-shaped already. All right, so good to see Jono Beach get a run. Hasn't had a huge amount of the ball himself, but he's been getting involved. A lot of good defensive efforts. He's had the 2 kicks of 4 handballs for 6 marks. He's playing fairly high. I've actually seen him running through our midfield rotations just a little bit as well. He's had good contributions with contested ball 3 and 3. And just working his way into the game. It'll be interesting to see whether Eddie can dish off a first goal for Jono Beach in the second half. But he's certainly not being disgraced. I'd like to see him getting involved a little bit more. Riley Knight, similarly, just working himself back into the game. He's only had the 6 touches, but looked like in the second quarter he was just starting to work his way back in. Squibby's saying whatever he wants me to be. Well, yeah, not quite. I'm just going to move on at this point. I felt our back 6 was solid. Daniel Talia has looked more energetic this week. Hasn't had huge touches, only 6. But I just felt like he's been on his man a little bit more. He's had the 4 contested possessions and it just looks more lively. In fact, the whole team looks more lively. And, of course, the knock is we're doing it against St Kilda and not against the Geelong or Western Bulldogs. But I guess you can only beat the team that you've got in front of you. And to this stage, if I was Adelaide, I'd be pretty comfortable and pleased with the intent and the effort in the first half. I would like to see the first quarter intensity return in the third quarter. And really put our stamp on the game. This is a game that we can really get a 10 to 15 goal win if we play 4 quarters of football. We've got far more talent on the ground. We've got far more firepower up forward. And we need to take advantage of it because percentage is going to be important come to the end of the season. Also wanted to mention just one player, Brad Crouch, seems to be getting involved more. But his stats, 1 kick, 10 handballs, and the only kick he had was that shot for goal. He's had the 4 tackles, 4 contested possessions. He's had the 3 clearances. Now, we know Brad is a good inside player, but handballing at 10 times is not going to get the job done. Matt Crouch as well, 4 and 12 for 16 touches. whether we've actually shifted back to using the two crouch boys to really be that outlet and to set our runners free, and certainly Rory Atkins has benefited from that. Brodie Smith, to a degree, has benefited from that. Richie Douglas as well, although he's got in and got a fair bit of his own ball as well. Even Wayne Miller has benefited from the outside. So whether we're just content to allow the two crouch boys to keep shoveling it out by hand, and we're not too concerned about their kick-to-handball ratio, but I've always found that Brad and Matt Crouch are at their most dangerous when they're directing the ball by foot. We've seen Matt Crouch certainly pass off a couple of nice passes by foot as well. So it'll be interesting to see how their possession balance is at the end of the game. Anyway, I will leave it there. We're just about to go again, and it's Crows comfortably, as we all hoped it would be. Don't forget, on Sunday evening, which seems a mile away, we'll have the wrap show. So until then, thanks for listening. No injuries, Squibby, that's right. Decent win, we're happy. We'll see you on Sunday night at 7 o'clock for the wrap.